Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go with them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, covering part 2 of the story I covered earlier, all about the guy who's about to embark on a serious revenge on his nemesis Peter after all these years of not seeing him. And as all you guys recall, this guy had this feud going on with this guy for years, all about this and eventually it was over this Jenny girl. You know, our guy here telling the story was with her for a while, and that guy got in the way, then he broke up with her, and round you go, and then the girl was pining over this dude telling the story. But now we're going to get into how this guy definitely gets even with him, and holy crap. And let me tell you, it will definitely fall into the a-hole category, but I will say this, Peter definitely had it coming to him, as you all recall. So, picking up where things left off, his next little chapter in this whole saga is called Nothing Changed. Because you recall, he just ran to Jenny after 7 years out in the countryside. Says a couple weeks later, I saw her again, and she said she couldn't find me on social media. And he says, I don't have social media. And then asked me for my phone number. I told her that was a bad idea and continued walking away. Oh, you're just making her chase after you, chase after you, chase after you. She loves the chase. In the years that followed, she took every occasion, fortunately there weren't many, to flirt with me. One time at the town festival, her, by then her best friend Debbie, came up to me and told me Jenny was drunk and wanted to suck my you-know-what. And I just laughed. So this is now a few years later and she's still after him. After that, Debbie, who was still single and without kids, started hitting on me, who I declined initially as well. But when she kept begging for kisses and to go to bed with her, I told her that I wouldn't do that. But that she could suck my you-know-what if she wanted to, and so she did. So, this guy, like I said, he's a player. He's a single guy, he's a bachelor, he does well for himself, and he doesn't give a shit. He has that aura about him, and that usually attracts women very much. One day during a network meeting, I meet with 2 board members of this nationwide company with the headquarters close to my hometown. We started chatting, and they opened the idea of using my company's services for all their branches if the rest of the board liked the idea as well. My company didn't do bad, but if I were able to pull off this deal, it would have quadrupled the company's annual income at the time. Holy crap. Maybe you ought to send Jenny off to sleep with these guys to seal the deal, you know? Or what's her name, Debbie, to go suck their you-know-whats. A week later, I received an invitation to come and talk at the board meeting in a couple weeks. On the day of the meeting, I went there only to find out that the board didn't want to see me. Oh, gee, I wonder why. The secretary said that someone would contact me, and that was it. On my way out, I ran into Peter walking in, seeing him for the first time in about a decade. Your nemesis screwed the whole thing up. Remember, guys, in the other story, this guy had his friend, Richard, who was a PI, gather all the evidence to help him to press some serious charges against Peter. And Peter's dad came in and asked him to drop them, and this guy did only because Peter's dad and his uncle had a good relationship and he helped the uncle out. Well, Peter never learned anything, and now he is still messing with this guy. Whilst passing, Peter he said with a big smile on his face, I heard you didn't get the assignment. That's a bummer. Back at the office, I called Richard and asked him to dig. Richard found out that one of the things Peter's fathers did was putting his assets into different trusts. These trusts weren't accessible for Peter yet. He needed to reach a certain age in order to become the beneficiary. Until that age, the shares in the trust were represented by a company, and Peter was working in the company at which the trust holds the shares. This meant that on paper, Peter had nothing to say yet, but in reality, he had a big influence. It bothered me, but I knew that the ship had already sunk. There's nothing I could do until a couple months later, I ran into Jenny at the city hall. Well, remember, Jenny has been pining for this guy for years, dying to have an affair with him. And Peter still needs some payback. The problem is, Jenny's a married woman with children. And I have a code against, having relations with married women, especially with kids. But what a way to get even with Peter. It turns out she had been working there for the past couple of years, but now worked at the desk where I need to pick up my licenses. He says this meant I would see her about every 4 to 6 weeks. One day in 2017, when picking up a license, I saw Jenny had a new phone on her desk. I picked it up and asked if this was one of these phones that you need to unlock with your face. She confirmed, and I unlocked it. I punched in my phone number, called myself, hung up, and deleted my phone number. I then told her that I would contact her. I then hired a shady private investigator that I knew from a party at Richard's to map Peter and Jenny's routine. I found Jenny had the kids only once every 6 Mondays. The other 5, they would have play dates somewhere else in order for most parents of the group to have a free day on most Mondays. I booked a hotel with a specific room number 2 weeks ahead of time and texted Jenny to be at that hotel room at a specific time and date and also to delete the text. That's all it took from him. Be at this place, this hotel room, this time, this date. What do you think? Is she going to comply? Next chapter, called Payback Time. At the given time and date, Jenny appeared in the hotel room, all dressed up. What a surprise. She gave me a hug, started kissing me, and said that she had been looking forward to this moment for years. I told her to sit on the bed and listen to me. I told her that I was going to use her for my pleasure, and she was going to be my servant. I also told her I didn't want to hear any questions ever, and that the password to stop was going to be Peter. I added that if she ever used the password, I would get up, walk away, move away, and never talk to her again. I asked her if she understood, and she confirmed that she did. So, I'm sure there's different elements that guys are going to call bullshit here. Guess what? There are women out there that love a guy in the sexual realm, if you will, to be her complete and total dominant master. In situations where these women, they're cheating on their husbands or boyfriends, and they will obey what the guy says. And the guy may say, don't sleep with your husband. And they won't sleep with their husband. Or don't do this with your husband, or this, or this, or this. Yeah. Again, is this fucked up because he's married and has kids? She's married and has kids? Yes, of course. But still, Peter has it coming. I started seeing Jenny almost every Monday. With the help of the shady PI, I eventually set up a shadow life group coaching company, women's company. I built a website, and every Monday I hired 2 actresses and a coach to have a coaching session in the hotel. I started social media pages, printed flyers, and paid the local paper boy that delivers in Peter and Jenny's residential area to add the flyers in the paper. This way Jenny could sign up and always had a reason to be away at the hotel on Mondays. In other words, put out these fake advertisements and they would get in the mail or the newspaper. Her husband would see it. Oh, okay. And it's, some kind of service that Jenny signs up for. Even though this guy is servicing Jenny. After 12 weeks, I didn't have to hire the actress anymore because of the amount of women who had signed up, paid enough to pay the coach. And I had a small business running that I eventually sold to the coach I hired to run it. Hey, that's nice. In the 3 years that followed, we communicate via a public local anonymous forum with codes that I made in Jenny's favorite book. All pictures and videos are being stored in a private cloud that is only accessible through the private part of the forum using the codes. And in none of the videos more than pictures of my you-know-what and legs are visible. During this time, I'm almost in full control over Jenny. For instance, he says, Peter hates short hair, so I let Jenny cut her long hair short. I let Jenny stop having SCX with Peter. I let her cook things Peter didn't like. We cloned my sausage into a dildo, a cloned Willy. I gave her assignments on what to do, where, how to behave. I let Peter sometimes pay for groceries. Whatever I wanted, in our area or in the sack, she wouldn't just give, but would often beg me to allow her to give it to me. Again, their relationship is the guy's the dominant, she's a submissive, but it goes beyond that because she's been carrying a torch for this dude forever. And obviously, she doesn't like her husband too much. But also, let's remember here that Jenny's also a piece of garbage. I mean, let's be honest here. But the sad thing is, I feel bad the most for the 3 daughters whose mom is doing this. And this guy doing this with the mom. And then again, Peter's also an asshole too. So it just goes round and round. Long story short, I also control part of their household. Yes, I know this is wrong now. Then in January 2021, I ran into Debbie. I saw by the look in her eyes that she knew about Jenny and me. Yes, I should have known. The next time I saw Jenny, I put her on the side of the bed and asked her how long Debbie knew. Dude, you really think that a girl's going to keep a secret over this? Come on. She played dumb at first, but then said that Debbie knew from the start. I told Jenny to call Debbie and tell Debbie I wanted to talk about this with the 3 of us. Jenny asked why, and I reminded her not to ask any questions. After a moment of doubt, she called Debbie, who got there 15 awkward minutes later. So Debbie has the hots for this dude too, and is just as obedient. I asked Debbie if she told anyone. At first she played dumb as well, but after insisting that she had told a friend from out of town, Jenny got mad, but I told her to shut up. I then asked Debbie why she told someone else, and after a moment of silence she said, jealousy, I guess. I then pulled my jeans down, making Jenny angry. I told Jenny either to shut up or join or leave and never come back. You can imagine what happened that day. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys are probably disgusted by this, but again, this guy's a dominant, and he can get what he wants with Jenny. Remember, this is all the revenge on Peter for all the bullshit Peter was doing back in the first video, but he never got to, suit him because he did a favor for his dad. Next chapter, the shift. This is when the guy starts to realize, yeah, I've become a scumbag. About 2 weeks later, I had my annual SRHLAN party weekend at Rich's place, who I hadn't seen in a while. He says steak, rum, hash, gaming weekend. In the final hour, I told him all about what happened between Jenny, Debbie, and myself. He called me a sick fuck, and he said he wanted to show me something. We ended up watching Strong, Successful Male. Well, welcome to the community, dude. With the group from Friday night until Sunday, with short moments of gaming sleep in between. I have to be honest, all the rum and hash made the message only partially come in at the moment. But during the weeks that followed, I binge-watched your and some of your other channels. That made me realize my focus in life was all wrong and made me do some drastic changes in my life. So otherwise you realize, yeah, you were certainly being a scumbag. I don't blame you for trying to get revenge on Peter. I'm sure a lot of guys don't because Peter's a douchebag. But once she was married and has daughters, that's another ballgame. But, it's entertaining. So here's some of the changes he's made in his life since finding my work and realizing he'd gone too far. Number 1, I moved out of the country. Number 2, I started seeing a therapist. 3, I stopped drinking, even though I didn't do it a lot. 4, I stopped smoking hash and cigarettes, which I did daily. 5, I started going to church. And 6, I started the RP journey. Well, in many ways, man, you are certainly RP'd in a lot of ways. Where the fuck am I? I think this is 7. I go to the gym 4 times a week, and when I feel like going to the gym 6 times a week, even when I don't feel like going to the gym. 8, I cut all ties with Jenny and Debbie. Good, dude. 9, I started taking voluntary cases. 10, when wondering how someone could be of use to me, I ask myself how I and the other person can be used to each other. And whatever number we are in 10 or 11, I try to be an addition to the world. In other words, you try to turn your life around. And that's good. These are all changes for the best, but I know there's a long way to go. I almost got away scot-free, but I made one more mistake. Early in 2021, I told Jenny that I was going to delete everything on the cloud, and if there was a photo or video she wanted to have for safekeeping somewhere hidden away in the attic, she should get off the cloud within 24 hours. Remember, this dude's kept a full archive of everything he's been doing with her. Apparently, Jenny downloaded all the content directly on her phone and left it there for Peter to find 2 months later. Oh boy. Well, now Peter's going to find out. Peter's going to now see you didn't let the shit go. 11 gigabytes of me doing stuff to Jenny and Jenny recording herself, doing my assignments in her home, or during family gatherings and holidays. I expected Peter to confront me, maybe even doing something stupid, but I never heard from him directly. Instead, he decided to take the old approach to a new form, online. Placing bad reviews with a lot of fake accounts about the company that isn't even mine anymore, which I sold, talking trash on social media, and he talks about me to everyone who wants, or doesn't want to hear about it. It's like he has become obsessed with me. Well, dude, given the fact that he saw all this evidence that you were banging his wife and doing all sorts of things to her for 3 years, and having her be your obedient servant, and mess with him in the house and all that, you can see why he's worked up. At first, I had been ignoring it, mainly because I felt like I deserved some suffering for the suffering that I caused Peter, and because I can understand the type of anger and hurt it feels. Last year, in March, after 2 years of harassment and talking trash, I let my lawyer send him a copy of the document that he signed back in the day with the cease and desist letter attached to it. But this didn't stop him either. In March of this year, after 3 years of harassment, I sent him a handwritten letter. Now I'm going to read this letter the guy sent, because he did it word for word here. Again, I told you that the Hatfields and McCoys got nothing on you guys. It says, Dear Peter, it's been almost 35 years since you stole my toy car, and I smacked you in the head for it. Toy car. Fucking preschool. But maybe I did something to you before that I can't remember anymore. Since you and I can walk and talk, we've always had a competition with each other in one way or another. Not that there was a lot of choice in our hometown, but our parents put us in the same toddler school, primary school, high school, soccer club, and we later went to the same college, giving us more than enough opportunity to fight. I fought you so many times in my youth that we sometimes had to laugh during fights, because one clearly knew what the other was going to do or say. We broke Sun Tzu's rule to not fight the same enemy too often over 3 decades ago. What started with dissing, some punches in the finger, has become a clusterfuck it is today. We both are getting close to 40 years old now. I think it's time to bury the hatchet, and that there are 2 good reasons for you and I to do so. Dude, there's going to be no burying the hatchet. This is going to go on to you're 90 years old. The first reason is that if we don't, this can only end badly for the both of us. The second reason is that the road towards that end will be full of suffering for both of us, like it has been to this day. The suffering for the both of us is not just when the other one pulls one over on you, but it's also when you are the one pulling one over the other. By hurting the other, we hurt ourselves as well. Well, it's very true, dude. Therefore, I want to kindly ask you to stop the harassment campaign so we can both live our lives in peace. There's no way he's going to stop after what he saw you do and his wife and all that, even though he was pulling that bullshit with you back in the day. I also would like to invite you to the place where it all began, my uncle's house, on Friday, April the 5th at 8 p.m. I spoke to the current owner, and he doesn't mind if we light a fire, drink a beer, talk, and bury the hatchet on his land. There's no way this is going to happen. You want him to come out to the middle of nowhere, where there's no witnesses, in the dark? This guy will show up with a weapon and bury you in the freaking field. You may even punch me in the face one more time if it makes you feel any better. I suggest that if we want to bury the hatchet symbolically, we use a plastic one. Kind regards, Jack. He says, Peter never replied to my letter. Well, there's a fucking surprise. And even though I knew he wouldn't show up, I went to the place that I invited Peter with a plastic hatchet, some burning wood, and a case of beer. Now that sounds like fun. Middle of nowhere, a campfire, and some beer. Although I'm a lightweight, so I'd probably have 2 beers max, but they'd be IPAs with 9% alcohol, but that's about it. Now, armed with my address, the harassment intensified since the beginning of October. Of course it did. I have no idea what happened that made him wait 6 months to use the address, and the last thing I heard, other than harassment, is that Peter and Jenny are having a one-sided open marriage, where Peter can do what he wants with whom he wants, while Jenny stays loyal. And he says, haha, yeah, right. Open marriage, huh? On the 1st of this day of November, I was at Richard's house. I talked about the document Peter signed back in the day and said that I would call my lawyer Monday morning. I said that the only thing that held me back so far was that I knew I had played my part in this clusterfuck as well, but that my limit had been reached. Richard's suggestion was, again, to write to you about it. I've been contemplating this for a while before Richard suggested it, so here I am. This is not the am I the a-hole question, because I'm well aware of the fact that I am, and everyone but Richard and Peter's father in this story is an asshole. The question is, how do I end it? Any suggestions, smacks, or telling me I need to sue are welcome. No hard feelings if you choose not to use this. Just writing it down. Drop my blood pressure big time. Keep up the good work you're doing. Kind regards, Jack. Holy crap, Jack. That is quite a story. As you said, gone back to like preschool when he took your truck or something, or who knows what. Yeah, Hatfields and McCoys. And you know what? If you had kids, if you got married and had daughters, then your daughters and probably his daughters would be fighting out for another generation. Bro, I don't think there's any end to this, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, unless you change your name and move away and all that. But I think it's just going to go round for round forever. I mean, really. I mean, just, if you would have stopped, I mean, after all the bullshit that went down, you dropped the charges as a favor to his dad. Then years later, you got your life together, you set up a business, doing fantastic. But then you were close to quadrupling your company's income, and then he blew that deal. So he was still trying to make your life a living hell, even though, you did a big favor for his dad back then. So he's going to keep doing bullshit to you. So then you got back at him big time by banging his wife for years and all that. Now he's back. I just don't see an end to this, to be perfectly honest. So you tried the adult approach by trying to, invite him out. But of course, I knew he wasn't going to do that. So, bro, I got to be honest with you. This is a tough one to call. And I'll be honest, I got a couple people that messed with me a lot when I was younger. like in junior high and everything, and I haven't seen him in over 30 years. But let me tell you, if I ran into him on the street and there were no witnesses, I'd kick the shit out of him. So you're asking a guy who is I naturally, I don't forget shit, guys. I'll hold a grudge for 50 fucking years to the day those motherfuckers that messed with me in junior high, and this wasn't like a one-time incident. Let me tell you, I'll be 90 years old. If I remember them, I'll still hold a goddamn grudge. So I'm unfortunately asking the wrong guy about that because, that's who I am. Now, I understand the big picture to have peace in your heart and forgive, and I encourage all that to all you guys, but I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not walking around angry, pissed off at the dudes that messed with me in junior high, but believe me, if I saw them for my younger self, we'd be throwing down. So, I don't know, man. I would talk to Richard, the PI, talk to a lawyer, and finding out how you can handle this thing legally if he's obviously causing problems in your life, and go from there. Because I don't think he's going to stop. There is no way it's going to stop after he saw and knew about what happened. And quite frankly, I think Jenny left that phone out on purpose for him to see because she liked the drama. She likes you guys fighting and her in the center. You know it. Jenny's a piece of garbage too. But you were a scumbag for hooking up with her and the fact that she's married, had kids. My biggest issue is with the kids. And he had it coming. Something. Well, this is just round and round you go. So at this point, I would talk to your buddy, Richard, the PI. I would talk to a lawyer and see what things can be done there. But, yeah, dude, this is a tough one. And again, you're asking the wrong guy, but like I said, I'm not seeking out the couple dudes that messed with me in junior high a number of times. But goddamn it, I ran them in the old neighborhood, going back to visit my family in Pennsylvania, not that they live there anymore. Ha ha ha. Because unlike back then, I trained in martial arts for 6 years and I can fight. But that's me. But would I risk going to prison for getting arrested and going to prison for that? Probably not. That's why I wait to be in the dark. So anyhow, this I'm going to have to contemplate more. Maybe I'll write you and let you know. But in the meantime, I would do anything drastic. Your revenge is quite entertaining, I must say. But yeah, talk to your PI friend Richard. Talk to a lawyer. Find out your options here and handle it accordingly. But anyway, goddamn, dude. But I don't think I smacked you more than once in this whole story here, but it's definitely an entertaining one. So, guys, let's hear what you think, because I'm not very good at answering this one today. How do you think you ought to handle this situation, given what you've heard here? 35 years has been going on. It ain't stopping. All that. Do you think he's really going to, after banging that guy's wife for 3 years, and everything that went from that, this Peter guy is going to stop? He didn't stop before, even before this guy was banging her. So I'd like to hear your opinion on this one. This is why I brought this over to the They Did What channel, because it's definitely out there and different here. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.